This is the Reds Down Under podcast, the best place to follow the Reds in Australia. Enjoy the show.
We are the Reds Down Under, and this is our podcast.
Hello everyone, this is Tom from Reds Down Under, your weekly fan pod for Liverpool fans made here in Australia. And tonight I'm on my own, absolutely on my own. Last night we recorded a Christmas special with myself, Jack and Wayno, so that'll be coming out just before Christmas. So I thought I couldn't ask the lads to do 2 nights in a row. It's been a massive week for the Reds, hasn't it? Massive week. That win against Inter Milan in the San Siro, and then a brilliant win, great performance against Brighton in the Premier League, which was so needed. 2 fantastic back-to-back performances, so I'll have a little look at them. I asked you guys for anonymous questions, so I'll be answering them. Some of them were a bit risque. Some of them were a bit more family-friendly. So I'll get to them a little bit later. And of course, as ever, we've got Reds Trivia, or as you might like to call it, take it to the max. Before we get going, we have just done the Jamie Carragher signed shirt giveaway. The Istanbul shirt, gorgeous shirt. So we did that live yesterday on YouTube, and Rhett Malloy won the shirt. So he's based down in Portland. So we'll be getting that out to Rhett as soon as possible. So thanks for everyone for taking part in that competition, and we've got more coming up in 2026. Don't worry. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Let's talk first about that win against the Inter. I went to Ka-Fey in Newcastle, which, if anyone is in Newcastle and part of the supporters club there, they'll know the Ka-Fey really well. So it's ran by a guy called Julian, and our posters are up all over the Ka-Fey on a game day. So thank you to them for supporting the pod. I went there to watch the game with the Newcastle supporters club, and they were a great bunch, to be fair to them, and they were really welcoming as well. So obviously, being an outsider, you never really know what sort of reception you're going to get, but they were absolutely top class. Thank you to Max and his owl fella for letting me stay with them as well the night before. We had a couple of beers and a couple of chicken burgers. Everyone was happy. Let's talk about the game. A big game it was against Inter, and I think that sometimes when you're struggling for form, I think it's really important that if you get a big game, you go and perform in the big game. And I think I said that, even a draw for us wouldn't be the worst result going to the San Siro. And I thought that the way Slot set his team up in a 4-4-2 diamonds really helped us, actually. I think that he's been keen to get Isak and Ekitike on the pitch at the same time when he can. And I think that, obviously, with Isak's injuries, it's been difficult. Playing them 2 up front gave us a threat throughout the game until the changes were made. But I thought the diamond worked really well, and I thought Curtis Jones was fantastic. I thought Vert was great. Szoboszlai never lets you down. But I just thought that the way we set up with quite a low block, I would say, against Inter, and I think that was to stop the threat in the wide areas, because I know their wing backs are genuine threats. And even they play like 3 centre backs, and even their right centre back and left centre back at some point in the game would end up on the far touchline in a sort of crossing position. So they really do overload in the wide areas, and I just thought we were solid. I thought we were really solid in those wide areas. Made it really difficult for them to come and play out. And then from that, then we looked really sharp on the counter-attack. And I just thought it was a really professional performance and something that we needed, because we've sort of lost that ability to control games in a way. And I think that was one of the best things under Slot last season, was that we could control games. We could be really professional. We could get clean sheets, and we could make it tough for the opposition. And that's exactly what we did in the San Siro. Let's talk about the disallowed goal. Konaté's goal. Because I think I said actually on the podcast last week, Ka-Fey to score a goal. And I think he scored a completely fair goal. I couldn't believe it. I was furious, isn't the word. They've given it a handball, I think, against Van Dijk. And Van Dijk's jumping for the ball, and the ball's hit him, but he's 2 yards away from the ball. It's impossible for him not to be in the way of the ball once contact is hit with the ball. I think that sometimes with these decisions, the referees are looking for a reason not to give a call, not to give a goal. And I was surprised that he overruled it. I thought it was a completely fair goal, and I felt a lot for Ka-Fey actually, because I think he had a brilliant performance in Milan, and I think that really would have capped it off for him. But he looked a lot more like the player that we all know he can be. The penalty we got, when I was watching it in real time, I didn't think it was a penalty. I thought that Vert made a bit of it. And to be honest, in the replays, I thought exactly the same. I thought that Vert made a lot of it. But, I mean, look, he's pulling him back. He's pulling him back. He's grabbing his shirt. He is stopping the player's momentum to touch the ball again. So I guess it is a penalty. But if it went against Liverpool, I would be frustrated. I would be frustrated. But I thought it was fair because of what happened with Ka-Fey. And then Szoboszlai stepping up to take that penalty. He continues to show impressive leadership in this football team. And when I look at Szoboszlai, when he first came in, I thought he was more interested in how his hair looked and that he looked fantastic. And he was more about the skills and the tricks and trying to do something different in a game where sometimes we didn't need it. But I really look at Szoboszlai in this team right now. He's one of the players for sure that has to play every single game. Without doubt, Szoboszlai has to play. And I genuinely think we're looking at the next captain of the football club. I really do. And obviously we've got Virgil for now. We've got Andy Robertson, who's the vice captain. But I look at Szoboszlai as a leader. I look at him as a player who makes a difference in a game. I think he's popular within the team setup, and I think Dominic Szoboszlai has got a real chance over the next couple of years to step up to be club captain. But I thought the whole midfield, I thought were fantastic. Curtis Jones was brilliant, was absolutely brilliant, and his skill level is so underrated. His ability to turn on the ball and flick the ball and move the ball quickly is so underrated. I think because he's a Scouser, because he's a local lad, he's not like a glamorous footballer in that way, but he's a very, very silky footballer, and I thought he was absolutely brilliant. Brighton, a quick start from Liverpool. Not something we've been used to seeing under Arne Slot. He's normally a manager who likes to control the game, and I think that shows in the possession stats this season. I think Liverpool got the highest possession stat in the Premier League, around 60%. He loves to have control of the ball. He likes to try and create the perfect moment for the perfect goal in a way. So quite often we start slow. We start in a way where we're trying to get hold of the ball. We're trying to get the lay of the land on the pitch. I think that sometimes it's a fair criticism of us to say that we don't get at teams quickly. And against Brighton, we did. So we scored the goal on what was it, 44 seconds. Ekitike gets his goal. But the goal comes because we pressed as a unit into, our attacking left-hand side of the pitch, and we press. And we forced Brighton into a decision. Is he going to give a throw in away, or is the defender going to throw a left boot across the field of play to try and get the ball moving? And he took the latter option. But what really impressed me was we pressed in that area, but then we continued to press. Joe Gomez wins the ball with a header, 30 yards out. So that's our right back. winning the ball in that area. Not completely just pushed out to the wing. He was engaged in the play. He was within the core group of players. And he wins the ball. Ekitike, so calm, takes a touch, puts it in. And a cracking start to the game and a great, instinctive. I think it's instinctive. Great instinctive finish. Great finish by Ekitike. And to be honest, it was sort of straight down the throat of the keeper, wasn't it? But it sort of dipped over him, and it was a great start to the game. Brighton were a threat throughout, and we talked last week about the threats that they would have on the pitch, and we talked about Minte on the right hand side, who I thought had a brilliant game. I thought he was a threat, a genuine threat all game. And I actually thought that it was one of Kirk's best performances, because Minte is definitely one of the fastest players in the Premier League, and Kirk has showed that he's not just as quick as him, but he could really use his body in a way to break down the play as much as possible. Matoma, I was expecting to play on the left, but he was only fit enough for the bench. So, Brighton have those sorts of players who have pace, can get in behind you there, like Gomez as well. And they created a great chance. They slipped the ball in, and I think Joey Gomez is playing them on side. It's sort of that ball in between the centre-backs, which has been punishing us all season, and it started against Crystal Palace in the Community Shield. That ball in between the two centre-backs is an area that teams get at Liverpool, and Brighton did, and Alisson Becker makes a fantastic one-on-one save. Fantastic save. And I'm actually a big fan of Mamardashvili. I think he's a top goalkeeper, and I think he's gonna be a top goalkeeper. But these are the Alisson Becker moments that just happen so often. He very seldom lets you down. And the club, there's talk that the club are gonna offer him a further 1 year extension on his contract, which I think will keep him at the club for a further 2 years now. And that's definitely something that I'd be looking to do if I was the football club. And I think Mama will continue to play more and more games in that time. But I think to have a proper succession plan in place would be really important. Vert and Ekitike, those two lads ran the football match. Ekitike was continuously looking to get in behind. He was looking to pierce the centre-backs. And I know they've got good centre-backs with Duncan Van Heck, but they're not blessed with a lot of pace there. And I thought Ekitike was just lightning, a threat. Always looked like he could get on the end of something. And I said to Jack, after he scored the second goal, he didn't look happy. And Jack went, well, it's probably because he should have had at least a hat-trick. And he's probably spot on there, Jack, because he did have chances to do that. But that's what I like about him. He gets in, and he gets in the position where he creates something. And a lot of the time at the minute, he's still creating moments for himself. And I think a player who can create a moment for themselves is a really valuable footballer. And I think that's been one of the highlights of Mo Salah down the years, is we've been able to get the ball out to Mo, and he can do something, and suddenly the game just opens up and a chance is created. And what I liked about Darwin Núñez, I know he never scored the goals we wished he should have, but what I liked about Darwin Núñez is he could just create a moment of chaos. He could do something. He could turn a game. He could use his physicality to open a game. And Ekitike is the same, but Ekitike is showing so far that he's got the end product. He's got the finishing touch. And Flo Vert, I think that probably since the last international break, we've seen a Florian Wirtz who looks much more at it. I know he's put on a lot of muscle weight as well, so he's a lot more sort of physically ready for the Premier League. But he just looks at it. He's a wizard in the middle of the pitch. He's a magician. The way he played against, he played great against Inter, but the way he played against Brighton was his football match. And I was speaking to Jack yesterday, and he said it was like Thiago it was like a player who he sort of had a bit of free rein. He could roam around the football pitch and he can get the ball on it and he can move the ball and he could have a big effect on the football match. Florian Wirtz was fantastic, and if he plays like anything close to that every week, Liverpool Football Club have got a top player, no doubt, because I know his numbers don't quite add up at the minute and his goals and assists aren't quite there, but what we're starting to see are the green shoots of a footballer who can drag us through games. And that's the sort of player that you hope when you're going to buy when you sign a player for, 115 million or whatever it was. So Florian Wirtz was absolutely fantastic. We should have had a red card. Or they should have had a red card on Florian Wirtz when he I think he chested the ball and then he got caught. Absolutely disgusting high tackle. And I think, the officials are lucky because I think if that game ends up 0-0 or Liverpool get beat, there's going to be a lot more question marks raised over that because I thought it was an outrageously poor decision. And I think that we're lucky that we've came off the back of 2 games there where I think the referee has made 2 very, very, very poor decisions and it hasn't affected the result. Because you're not always going to get the result, so it's important that when we don't get those decisions, that we still find a way to win the game, and we did. We were brilliant. The only negatives of the game, I would say, is obviously the knock to Joe Gomez and the knock to Szoboszlai. But we don't play now until, Sunday night against Spurs. So there's a fair amount of time there. Conor Bradley will be back next week as well. Hopefully Frimpong will be close as well to the team. So hopefully it won't have too much of an effect. But the Reds were fantastic. It was my favourite game that I've watched Liverpool play this season. And, we're talking about a season where we've still beaten Arsenal, we've still beaten Real Madrid. And it might not have felt that exciting at the time, but we beat Aston Villa and they're currently 3 points behind the leaders in the Premier League at the moment. So they're a good football team. So a great win, relieved, happy. I went into me Sunday with a lot more sort of venom in me. So that was unbelievable. Salah came back in, but as I say, we'll talk about Mo Salah in a second with the anonymous questions. Going to have a quick break, and when we come back, it is your anon questions. Reds, just a quick one. If you haven't subscribed, if you haven't followed, if you haven't reviewed, if you haven't done all that yet, please do jump in and do that. It makes a big difference for us. It tells the algorithm that you like it, and it helps us grow in the long term. We've had some great guests on this year. We've had loads of local guests so far from Australia. We've had people in America, people in the UK. We've had well-known guests like George Sephton and Abby Rugken and Jim Sonnenfeld and Keith Salmon, Chris Kirkland. And we'll continue to do that in 2026. Enjoy the rest of the pod. Well, Reds, we're back, and it's time for your anonymous questions. Thanks so much for sending these in. So every now and again, I put the link up on Instagram on the story, and you can basically ask anything you want. And trust me, people have. Some of them I'm not going to read out. But we do have some interesting ones. The first one is the combination of having all 5 midfielders, Maka, Jones, Sobo, Grav, Wirtz, something you think should continue moving forward? I think it's a great question, and I think that it's shown that it can work. I think that the amount of control that we had in the game against Brighton was fantastic. I thought that we were balanced. I thought that we were a threat. We were getting balls in behind. We were getting quality balls into the box. And I think defensively we were solid. My concern with having those players in the game is that we don't actually have any backups for most of those players, really. Because you'd say probably Curtis Jones is a backup for McAllister. And we've seen that consistently with the way that the manager makes his substitutions and his rotation. Grafenberg's backup would be, Endo, arguably. But I think the manager very seldom uses Endo, and I think that unless he plans to play him far more often, then I'd be surprised I'd be surprised to see Grafenberg ever come out the team, and I think that would be the main thing for me, is that I don't think we've got the strength in depth for, if we wanted to play that way every game, that we could. Because if you're asking for 90 minutes week after week from all those players, I'd be surprised. And my other concern would be, unless my concern would be, are we potentially losing direct and pacey threats in the wide areas in an attacking sense? I know some people don't like Cody Gakpo. I think he's a good footballer. I think that expectations are high on Cody at the minute, and obviously Luis Diaz. I liked Luis Diaz. I don't think he was the player that the club thought or hoped he would become. I thought he was a very, very good footballer, don't get me wrong. But he wasn't sort of the heir to Sadio Mane that the club hoped he would be. And Cody Gakpo was sort of next in line after Luis Diaz left. But Cody's a good footballer. He does offer a threat on that left wing. On the right-hand side, I know Vert can play there and Szoboszlai can play there, but I think that in some games you definitely want that wide attacking threat. And the only other thing I would say about that, though, is if Frimpong can get himself fit soon, he would be a threat down the right, as would Kerkez on the left, and they could potentially offer us a lot of width in those areas and a lot of attacking threat and a lot of pace. And hopefully quality coming into the box. So I'm not saying I don't think it's the last time that the manager will use that setup. Not at all. I think I would expect him to go very similar against Spurs at the weekend, because I think a lot of Spurs' threat is down the wings. But I would expect for most games that the manager would try and play closer to his preferred formation of a 4-2-1-3. And play attacking threats in those positions, because we do have them: Gakpo, Rio, Chiesa, Salah. So it's an interesting question, but I definitely think, mate, whoever you are, that it could definitely be something that works in the Champions League as well. What else have we got here? Favourite Liverpool goal and why it's so special to you? It's a very, very good question. It's a very, very good question. I think there's been some great goals at big moments, and I think a lot of us will be in the same boat on this one, mate, is the Olympiacos one, the Stevie Gerrard volley. We were down and out, and we had Chris Kirkland on the podcast recently, and he played that game. And he was talking about that goal and the momentum that it gave the team, and I was 15. I remember sitting watching it at home on the couch and just going ballistic when that goal went in. And I think that goal always holds a special place. I think that the Stevie goal against West Ham in the 2006 FA Cup final, the one, 35 yards or whatever it was, absolute screamer in the last minute of the game to bring the game to 3-3 was absolutely unreal. I think the goal that always stands out for me, and I think because I was 11 at the time, or 10, I was 10 going on to 11, this goal was a key moment in a game where we'd been battered really all game in the cup final, and I won't say who it's against, because it's actually part of the Red trivia that we're doing in a minute, but Michael Owen got 2 goals late on, and the second goal was just one of the best memories as a kid, seeing a ball go in the goal. To know that we'd won a game against a great football team, and that we were going to go and win the FA Cup, and it was the second trophy that season. I'd never really seen us lift a trophy before, so Michael Owen, 2001 FA Cup final. Team against, unnamed because of Red trivia. That's a great question, mate. Thank you so much for sending that one in. Does any part of you secretly think it would have been good for Salah or good for the squad long term if Salah did leave after AFCON? Yes. Yeah, I do. I think that Salah's such an influential player, and he's obviously been a great player for Liverpool Football Club. And I think we've seen against Brighton, I thought he was fantastic, Mo Salah. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. But the manager has to have control of that dressing room, and if Salah's comments represent the vibe with him and the club in the and in the training ground and in the dressing room and his influence, then that's definitely not a good thing. And I would like to think that the club and Salah have spoken and they haven't made it a big public deal, but there's been apologies made and whatnot. And Salah will go to AFCON, come back, a little bit of times happens, and absence makes the heart grow fonder and all that, and Mo Salah can come back in. I think regardless, mate, Liverpool need to start thinking of an action plan for when Mo Salah goes, because he is still, without doubt, the main man on that right-hand side. And there's been no suggestion so far from the manager that he's going to put Rio out there, say. And there's definitely been no suggestion that Chiesa's the answer out there for the manager. So, I think Liverpool have got a couple of options where they either say goodbye to him in January and hopefully everything ends on a positive note, or they say, right, Mo, you're going to stay until the end of the season, and Liverpool go and invest a little bit of money in January, and they go and sign the lad who they think is going to replace him. I'm not sure who that will be. I really like Semenyo. I think he's a top footballer. I think that there's definitely options out there, players that I do like who could come in. But the position I don't want to be in is where we've sort of been in this summer, where we've had to go out, we've had to make major surgery at once, and it's really affected the team. So whoever they think is the person to come in and take that position in the future, I think that the club needs to be acting quickly, and they need to be bringing them in and, giving them a chance to sort of blend into the team for the rest of the season. And whoever that player is, you're saying, look, Mo Salah's going to be going in the summer. You will get minutes and bide your time, and you're going to be the main man when Mo parts. And that would be my ideal solution, really, is that Mo would stay, but I'm not 100% convinced of it. Before we go on to I think there's one more question, is there? Yeah, there is one more question. But before we go on to that, I'm completely, absolutely bamboozled by Liverpool Football Club banning Jamie Carragher from Anfield as a pundit. First of all, if you get out the fact that Jamie Carragher is an absolute living legend of this football club, and in many ways, when I think of Liverpool Football Club, I think of Jamie Carragher. He sort of represents so much of what we are as a club. If you take that out of the way, I think it's a very dangerous premise to not allow football people into your stadium because you don't like what they say about your football club. And I don't disagree with many things that Liverpool Football Club do. Down the years, there's been a couple of things that have stood out which I really didn't like that FSG and the football club have done. One of them was the furloughing of when we had COVID. And the other thing was the European Super League, which was absolutely disgusting, the way they thought that they could push that one through. But I think by and large rather, they've been fantastic football club. But I just think at a real time of tension, the football club have looked outside of their issues with underperforming, an unhappy player, a player coming out in the press, and the football club have gone, right, well, what's the problem here? Well, one of the problems is that Jamie Carragher is talking a lot. And Jamie Carragher is only commenting on what's going on for us all to see. We're doing exactly the same here. The Anfield Wrap are doing the same. Redmen TV is doing the same. The only difference is Jamie Carragher's platform is Sky. And I think it's a dangerous precedent to set that if the club aren't happy with what you're doing, that they'll basically just banish you from the place. I think that a public entity, and that whether they get the adoration of the title win and the fantastic work that FFC have done with the club, or they get criticism, they have to accept both. They have to accept both equally. So I was surprised and I was disappointed at that from the football club. Last question: if you could play in any game as a Liverpool player, which game would you play and why? I guess there's a couple. There's a couple of ones. There's a couple of ones that I would love to have played in. I'm gonna sip my beer and then I'm gonna tell you. Refreshing. So I sort of came down to two, and the two were Everton and Manchester United. And they're very different games. The rivalries are very different. The Man United game's the biggest game in football for me. And people talk about El Clasico. And I think that El Clasico is a massive game. Don't get me wrong. I think that when you had Messi and Ronaldo, Mourinho and Pep, El Clasico was undoubtedly the game, you know. But I still think Liverpool and Manchester United's the biggest game. I really do. I really do. But having said that, the game I would most like to play in would be a Merseyside derby at Everton. Yeah, ideally it would have been Goodison Park. I would have loved to have played there. But I'd love to go and wear the red shirt at Everton Stadium in that atmosphere, in that cauldron of noise, because it's brilliant. They really do get a good atmosphere, you know, when they feel like it. And to play in that game, a feisty game, there's pretty much always a red card. It's about intensity. Yeah, beating Everton at their stadium is just one of the best feelings ever, especially being from the city, being in and around Everton fans all the time. There's nothing better. There's nothing better than beating them. So that was our anonymous questions. I hope that I've managed to answer them okay for you, and understood the question that I've answered. But we're going to keep doing them. So please do keep sending them in. They're a lot of fun. Next time we'll do it with Jack, and we'll see what that kid says. Get your pens and pencils out. It's time for Reds Trivia. Now, Reds, when I started Reds Trivia, the idea was I just write 5 questions from sort of my knowledge set about Liverpool. And I thought some of them would be easy, some of them would be hard, whatever. But I've had messages from people saying that the trivia is too easy. So I bought a Liverpool trivia book. And it's got all these different questions in from Liverpool history. And I'm going to go through the book one by one, each question. And I'm going to pull them out and I'm going to make them as trivia. So they're going to be, I think, the harder. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Bless me, Reds. Jesus. I think the harder. So get your pens and pencils and paper out, and we'll do the questions. Question number 1: who founded Liverpool in 1892? So I'm looking for the person who founded Liverpool in 1892. No first name needed. If you can give me their surname, that will be enough. So before Mo Salah broke the Premier League record for most goals scored, I think it was this fella in a 38-game season. Luis Suarez scored how many league goals in the 2013-14 season? How many did Luis Suarez score in the league in the 2013-14 season? I think Daniel Sturridge got 24, I think, which in most seasons at that time probably would have won him the Golden Boot. I think Harry Kane's won Golden Boots with less than that. But how many did Luis Suarez score? Question number 3. Who did Liverpool sign Alisson Becker from? Who did Liverpool sign Alisson Becker from? Best goalkeeper I've ever seen in a Liverpool shirt. I know that some people say Ray Clements. Some people say the flying pig. But obviously in my lifetime, Alisson Beck has been absolutely unreal. He's got everything. He's got everything except like being fit for the whole season. That's his only problem. Number 4, which player did we sell to Crystal Palace in 2016 for £32 million? Which player did we sell to Crystal Palace in 2016 for £32 million? Have a think about that one, because we actually sold a couple of players to Palace for a similar value. Have a think. And question number 5, who did we beat in the 2001 FA Cup final? Who did we beat in the 2001 FA Cup final? I was talking about the game earlier. We won it 2-1. All right, let's do the answers then. Who founded Liverpool in 1892? It was John Holding. Question number 2, Suarez scored how many league goals in 2013-14 season? It was 31. And I think he actually spent like the first 5 games of it suspended, which is crazy to think. Number 3, who did Liverpool sign Alisson Becker from? It was, of course, Roma. Which player did we sell to Crystal Palace in 2016 for £32 million? It was not Mamadou Sakho, if you said that. It was Christian Benteke. And number 5, who did we beat in the 2001 FA Cup final? It was Arsenal. So that was me favourite goal, that Michael Owen goal, and then he did the somersault. Absolute legend, Michael Owen, love him. Absolutely love him. Before we drift off, let's talk quickly about that game coming up against Spurs. Spurs are in a bit of a funny spot at the moment. The fans aren't happy with the performances. I know at home actually they've been really struggling. Spurs, like, really openly booing the team, which is never a good sign. The club have chopped and changed managers down the year, and I think they've got a really good manager in Thomas Frank, who has very different ideas, I guess, to their sort of previous coaches, but I think he's a very good manager. But they have lost. Well, they've had 1 win in 5, and they've had 3 defeats. So Spurs are struggling. Spurs are struggling a lot. Big discipline problems there at Spurs. They've got 41 yellow cards, which is the most in the Premier League so far this season, and that's 11 more than Liverpool. So they're really struggling to get a bit of consistency, but they've definitely got a lot of threats. They've got a lot of threats there. I expect them actually to be a big threat down the wings. Like, I know Jed Spence and Pedro Porro offer a lot of threat on the left and the right, and that's why, mate, I wouldn't be surprised if we do go that packed midfield with the 5 of them in the midfield in that game to try and, again, combat the threats in the wide areas. But we'll see. We'll see. I think it'd be interesting to see if Dominic Szoboszlai can get himself back in to the team there after his niggle this week. I wouldn't be surprised if Conor Bradley plays irregardless after his suspension. I don't know what Joe Gomez's injury is going to look like. And then in a week's time, we never quite know, do we, what the lay of the land is going to be with Mo Salah. Oh no, he's gone. Forget Mo Salah. He's gone to the African Cup of Nations. So yeah, we'll see what sort of team the manager puts out in that game. But I think against Spurs, I think they're a little bit brittle at the moment. I think they are where we were 5 games ago. And I think if we can attack them and we can get a really good aggressive press, I think that it's a game that could turn into a really good win for Liverpool. And I think against Brighton, I think they could have scored a couple of goals, but we could have scored 5. We could have scored 5. No dramas, no worries. So I do feel like there is a game coming up for Liverpool where Liverpool are going to go and have a thump of the team. And hopefully it's against Spurs. Hopefully it's against Spurs. That's all we got time for this week on Reds Down Under. I'm recording this on Monday, and I'm sure people will be aware that there's been absolutely horrendous scenes in Bondi in Sydney yesterday. And the last report that I read, 16 people had passed away, and 15 of them absolutely innocent victims. And it's an absolutely horrendous thing that we never really expect, do we? And seeing that news yesterday, and we were recording the Christmas special actually, just when I started getting the news in, and we sort of had to ignore it because we had to go and record the special. But just absolutely horrendous scenes. And if you want to talk to someone about that, I completely understand that. We'll put a link in the bio for Lifeline, so you know where to contact them. But you can send us a message on the pod, and we're always more than happy to talk to people as well. So really difficult time at the moment in Sydney, and I think that's sort of echoing around the world at the moment. But it's been great to see the unity of the city. It's been great to see the heroes who stood up against those gunmen. And yeah, absolutely. Just it's hard to know what to say about it, isn't it? But we just take for granted our safety in this country, and it's hard to sort of fathom. So we're all sort of still getting our head around it, and we'll see what news comes out of it. But hopefully there are no further losses from that incident. Sorry to leave on a bit of a sad note, Reds, but it had to be mentioned. Enjoy the week coming ahead. We've got a big game against Spurs. Liverpool look back, but we'll find out. Up the Reds. Reds, thank you so much for watching this podcast. I hope it wasn't too boring, just with me talking here on my own. If you haven't seen it yet, go and have a look at the George Sephton special. It was really great. 54 years as the stadium announcer at Anfield. He's an absolute legend, and he's seen it all, and we hear all about it on that podcast. And we also interviewed Chris Kirkland, former Liverpool goalkeeper. He was a big part of the team that went and won that 2005 Champions League trophy, played in that Olympiacos win at Anfield. So check out that podcast, it's a cracker. And if you haven't already, give us a subscribe and a like and all of that sort of nonsense. See you next week.